In the Vietnam War, some battles were loud. This one wasn't. No airstrikes, no artillery, just two men lying still in the jungle. Neither could see the other. Both knew the other was there. Every breath could give away a position. Every second of waiting could mean survival. This wasn't about who had the better rifle. It was about who would move first. And in this jungle, the man who moved first usually died. The jungle was too quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. The kind that presses against your ears until you start hearing your own breathing louder than the world around you. We had been moving for hours along a narrow trail carved into the side of a low hill. Dense vegetation on both sides, triple canopy jungle, visibility no more than 20 meters in any direction. This wasn't a firefight zone. No artillery, no air support. Just a patrol moving slow and careful. That was the mistake. In Vietnam, silence didn't mean safety. It meant someone was waiting. Our point man stopped, raised his fist. The signal passed back through the line. We froze. Sweat rolled down my spine. The jungle smelled like wet earth and rot. Then it happened. The shot didn't crack like in the movies. It snapped. A dry, flat sound. Almost mechanical. The radio man dropped straight down. No scream. No warning. 1 second he was standing. The next his body folded as if someone had cut his strings. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then training kicked in. Sniper. We hit the dirt. Rifles up, eyes searching, fingers shaking just enough to notice. But there was nothing to see. No muzzle flash, no movement, no enemy. Just one dead man in a jungle that suddenly felt very close. What none of us knew yet was that this wasn't random fire. This was the opening move of a hunt. From the other side, the shot had been perfect. The Vietnamese sniper did not rush. He had been lying still for nearly 3 hours before pulling the trigger. His position wasn't high in a tree like the Americans expected. It was low, barely half a meter above the ground, dug into a shallow depression reinforced with roots and mud. He didn't aim for the officer. He didn't aim for the biggest target. He aimed for the radio. Because once the radio went silent, the unit became blind. The moment the trigger broke, he didn't watch the body fall. He rolled sideways, slow and controlled, letting the rifle slide with him. Leaves shifted just enough to look natural. No broken branches, no panic. He crawled backward using his elbows, counting breaths. 1, 2, 3. By the time the Americans were firing blindly into the trees, he was already gone. From his new position, he listened. American voices were louder now. Faster, sharper. Fear always made noise. He studied the unit's reaction, how they moved, who shouted orders, who hesitated, who tried to take charge. He already knew who the next target would be, because this wasn't about kills, it was about control. Back on our side, confusion spread fast. We fired at shadows, at tree lines, at nothing. The lieutenant tried to regain control, but his voice sounded thin even to himself. Everyone was looking everywhere and nowhere at the same time, except one man. He didn't fire. He lay still, cheek pressed into the mud, eyes scanning slowly. He had hunted deer back home. He knew something most soldiers didn't yet understand. A sniper who fires once is dangerous. A sniper who waits after firing is lethal. He watched the jungle, not for movement, but for absence. A leaf that didn't sway with the breeze, a shadow that stayed too dark, a gap where something should be. Minutes passed, then another shot. This one hit a soldier dragging the wounded radio man. The bullet entered under the armpit, angled upward. The man collapsed forward, blood soaking into the red clay. That's when the pattern became clear. Low angle, close range, controlled fire. This wasn't harassment. This was a duel being forced upon us. The hunter on the other side had chosen his battlefield, and now he was waiting to see who would rise to meet him. The jungle went quiet again, but this time, everyone knew what that silence meant. Somewhere out there, another man lay just as still, just as patient, just as afraid. And both sides understood one thing clearly now. This would not be decided by firepower. It would be decided by who lost control first. After the second man went down, no one fired anymore. That was the moment the fight changed. Both sides understood the rules now. Spraying the jungle would achieve nothing. Charging forward would be suicide. Retreating would only expose more backs, so everyone froze. The American patrol spread out as best they could, flattening themselves into the red mud and rotting leaves. Helmets tilted low, rifles pressed tight to shoulders. Breathing slowed deliberately, each man trying to make himself smaller than the ground beneath him. Time stretched. Seconds felt like minutes. Minutes felt endless. The American sniper, though no one had officially called him that yet, kept his cheek pressed into the earth. Ants crawled across his knuckles, sweat pooled in his eyes, blurring his vision, but he didn't blink. Blinking was movement. He replayed the shots in his head. First kill, instant drop. Second kill, angled upward, close range. That meant the enemy wasn't far. Too close, closer than felt comfortable. He began mapping the terrain inch by inch. Fallen logs, shallow depressions, slight rises that could hide a body prone. He ignored the trees and studied the ground instead. On the other side, the Vietnamese sniper was doing the same. He had not fired again for a reason. Every additional shot increased the odds of detection. His mission wasn't to wipe out the patrol. It was to paralyze it, to slow it, to remind it that the jungle was not neutral ground. He lay perfectly still, rifle aligned with a narrow corridor between roots and ferns. His breathing was controlled, shallow, almost imperceptible. He watched an American helmet tilt slightly. Not enough. He waited. The first real mistake came from fear. A young American private, pinned behind a rotting log, shifted his weight, just slightly. His boot pressed into wet soil, creating a soft, sucking sound. The Vietnamese sniper heard it instantly, not because it was loud, but because the jungle had gone completely silent. He didn't fire. Not yet. Instead, he adjusted his angle by centimeters. He studied the space around the sound. He waited for confirmation. Another movement. Another mistake. On the American side, the sniper noticed the same thing. A bird took flight suddenly from the undergrowth, not startled by the Americans, startled by something else. His pulse quickened, but his body stayed still. He shifted his rifle fractionally, aligning it with the disturbance. His finger rested on the trigger, taking up slack. Two hunters, one patch of jungle, both waiting for the other to reveal himself. Minutes passed. The private shifted again, this time lifting his head. The Vietnamese sniper fired. The shot was clean, efficient. The bullet struck just below the helmet line. The body dropped without drama. 3 shots, 3 kills. The patrol was no longer just pinned, it was bleeding. The American sniper didn't fire back. He had learned something more valuable. The enemy was disciplined, and disciplined enemies could be predicted. The air felt heavier now, not because of humidity, but because everyone knew what this had become. This wasn't harassment fire. This wasn't random. This was a duel. The American sniper adjusted his position slowly, using the death of the private as cover. While others focused on the fallen man, he crawled sideways, pressing into a shallow ditch filled with stagnant water, cold soaked into his uniform. He didn't care. From this angle, the terrain looked different. What had once been solid foliage now revealed a faint inconsistency, a shadow that didn't align with the slope of the ground. Too deliberate, too still. He focused. The Vietnamese sniper sensed the shift before he saw it. Something had changed. The Americans were no longer reacting blindly. One of them had stopped behaving like prey. That meant only one thing. There was another hunter in the jungle. He resisted the urge to move. He resisted the urge to fire. Instead, he waited for the countershot that didn't come. That worried him more than incoming fire, because it meant the American was thinking. 2 men now lay motionless, rifles trained on patches of earth that looked identical to everything else around them. They could not see each other clearly, but they knew. The duel had truly begun, and whoever lost patience first would not get a second chance. By late afternoon, the jungle felt smaller, not physically, but mentally. The distance between hunter and hunted had collapsed into something dangerously intimate, no longer hundreds of meters, no longer vague directions. This was close-range sniper work now, the kind where breathing mattered. The American sniper could smell the jungle, rotting leaves, stagnant water, gun oil. His cheek was numb from the pressure against the rifle stock. His elbows ached from holding position for too long. He didn't move. He counted heartbeats instead. Every sound had a meaning now. A cicada stopped chirping. A leaf shifted without wind. Mud settled somewhere ahead. His scope hovered over a patch of ground that looked empty, yet felt occupied. On the other side, the Vietnamese sniper felt the same pressure. He had crawled closer earlier, using the chaos after the third kill. Not much. Just enough to shorten angles. Just enough to reduce uncertainty. Now the Americans were within 70 meters. Too close for comfort. Too close for error. At this range, even a small movement could be seen. He adjusted his grip. His fingers were steady, but his forearms burned from holding position. Sweat rolled down his nose. He let it fall. Wiping it would mean death. Both men knew the same truth. This wasn't a long game anymore. This was the final phase. The jungle does not choose sides. It betrays everyone equally. A shaft of sunlight broke through the canopy, shifting slowly as the afternoon wore on. Shadows moved. Contrast changed. What had once been perfect concealment became questionable. The American sniper noticed it first. A shadow ahead didn't move with the rest, too dark, too defined. He didn't raise his rifle suddenly. That would draw attention. Instead, he adjusted millimeter by millimeter, aligning his scope with the anomaly. He waited. On the Vietnamese side, instinct flared. Something was wrong. Not a sound, not movement. Pressure. He felt watched. Years of training told him what that meant. The enemy had stopped reacting. He was observing. The Vietnamese sniper considered firing, but at this distance, a miss would be fatal. So he waited. Then the jungle intervened. An insect crawled across the American sniper's scope lens. A tiny thing, barely noticeable, but enough to distort the image. His finger tightened. Not yet. Across the clearing, the Vietnamese sniper felt a muscle twitch in his leg. Cramps. Pain. He fought it, locking his body still. The jungle was testing both of them now. Who could endure longer? Who would break first? A bird exploded from the brush between them. Both rifles jerked, then froze. Too obvious, too expected. Neither fired. But the moment had changed everything. Both men now knew exactly where the other was watching. The American sniper decided to risk it. Not a full movement, not a shot, a test. He nudged a loose clump of leaves forward with the barrel of his rifle, just enough to simulate careless motion, just enough to bait a reaction. The Vietnamese sniper saw it instantly. His training screamed at him to fire, but something felt wrong. Too deliberate, too controlled. This wasn't fear. This was intelligence. He hesitated, and hesitation at this distance was deadly. The American sniper fired. The shot cracked louder than expected. The recoil punched into his shoulder. The bullet tore through leaves, shred foliage, and clipped fabric. The Vietnamese sniper rolled away as the round passed, missing his skull by inches. Dirt sprayed, leaves exploded. He was alive. Barely. Before the Americans could follow up, he was gone, sliding into a pre-dug escape route, disappearing into the jungle like smoke. The American sniper fired twice more. Both missed. Then silence. The kind of silence that wasn't empty. The kind that meant someone had escaped. No one spoke. No one moved. Both sides understood what had just happened. The duel had reached its peak and slipped through their fingers. One man had nearly died. The other had nearly killed. But neither had won. And in the jungle, unfinished fights never truly ended. They only paused, waiting for the next mistake. The jungle did not explode after the near miss. It absorbed the moment. Leaves settled, dirt fell back into place. Smoke from the rifle shot thinned and vanished into the canopy. Within seconds, it was as if nothing had happened at all, except for the men who had lived through it. The American sniper lay frozen, his heart hammering so hard he feared the vibration alone might give him away. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the sudden release of tension that had been building for hours. He had been inches from killing another man, and inches from being killed himself. That realization settled heavy in his chest. He replayed the shot again and again in his mind. The decision to bait, the hesitation, the trigger break, the way the foliage had exploded where a head should have been. Too close. On the other side, the Vietnamese sniper lay pressed into a narrow escape trench, chest heaving despite his effort to control it. His ears rang, his leg burned where shrapnel-like fragments of bark had torn into flesh. But he was alive. He had survived not because of speed or strength, but because he had trusted his instincts over impulse. Still, he knew the truth. The American sniper had seen him. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. The advantage of invisibility was gone. This duel had reached its turning point. As the light began to fade, the American patrol's situation worsened. They were pinned, low on water, carrying wounded. Radio communication was unreliable without the original radio man. Orders came fragmented, delayed, unclear. Higher command wanted movement, progress, pressure. The lieutenant looked down the line of men hugging the earth and knew those orders were meaningless here. This wasn't a battlefield you could command from above. This was a fight between individuals. The American sniper understood what was coming before it was said. Either they pushed forward and risked more deaths, or they pulled back and admitted the jungle had won this round. He weighed the decision carefully. Continuing meant exposing tired men to a hunter who was still alive, still capable, and still unseen. Retreating meant turning their backs, always the most dangerous moment. On the Vietnamese side, the sniper was having his own debate. He could stay. He could wait for another careless movement, another chance to strike, another body to drop and deepen the fear. But his mission was already complete. The patrol had stopped. Its momentum was broken, its confidence shattered. Staying longer would only increase his own risk. A sniper who overstays becomes predictable, and predictable men die. The jungle offered him an exit. All he had to do was take it. The decision came quietly. On the American side, the lieutenant ordered a controlled withdrawal as darkness approached. No sudden movements, no rush, covering sectors assigned carefully. The American sniper was tasked with rear security. He didn't like that. Rear positions meant limited vision, limited escape, but he accepted it without argument. If the enemy chose to strike again, it would be during the pullback. He watched the jungle intensely. Nothing moved. No shots came. On the other side, the Vietnamese sniper listened to the Americans disengage. He could hear the subtle shift in their rhythm, the sound of careful steps, the pauses, the tension. He did not fire. The hunt was over. He waited until the last American presence faded into the distance before moving. Slowly, methodically, erasing signs of his passage, covering disturbed earth, replacing leaves. When he finally stood, his body ached, but he smiled, not in triumph, but in relief. He had survived another duel. That was enough. There would be no medals for this fight. No confirmed kills, no recorded duel. Just men who returned alive and men who didn't. The jungle reclaimed the battlefield within hours. But the memory of the encounter followed both snipers long after. Because once you lock eyes with an unseen enemy, once you feel death pass within inches, you never forget how thin survival really is. There was no official report that described what had really happened. No map marked the duel. No record listed it as a battle. On paper, it was just another patrol that failed to advance. But the men who were there knew better. They had faced an enemy they never truly saw, and survived only because someone chose not to fire again. That knowledge stayed with them longer than any firefight. Years later, some of the men would try to explain it. They spoke about the fear of moving, about silence that felt louder than gunfire, about knowing someone was watching and never confirming it. The war did not end when they left Vietnam. It followed them into sleep, into memories, into every quiet moment that felt just a little too quiet. In wars like this, victory is hard to define. One side withdrew, the other survived. No flags were raised, no ground was held. But one truth remained. In the Vietnam War, the deadliest enemy was often the one you never saw, and the most important battles were fought in silence.